This is just a section calling for a number of reports. I think these reports can be very useful. In fact, in the past, when we did get them, they led to changes in budgets afterwards, like the issue of the restoration of the pension for the years of childminding and the stay-at-home years that were taken away from women in the past. So I would be very interested, Minister, if you would agree to these reports. I spoke to them all this morning, so there's no point in me repeating myself and taking up time. But each of them, the one on fuel poverty, the employment wage subsidy scheme, the contribution to the social insurance fund and changes to retirement age, and on the job seekers allowance for younger people. So
thank you, Deputy Smith. Minister, sorry, yeah, you've moved the amendment. Do you wish to respond, Minister, please?
I'll respond, yeah. Just to say, there's a number of reports here that has been asked for, so I'll just go through each one separately. First of all, the report on fuel poverty. Within 3 months of the passing the first point is that my department did 2 reports recently, Deputy. One on the impact of carbon tax on low-income families, and the other on the qualifying conditions of fuel allowance, with specific reference to job seekers allowance and supplementary welfare allowance. Both reports were laid before the Houses of the Oireachtas, and I can arrange to send the deputies copies of both reports. And I'd just like to make the point that energy poverty, which includes fuel poverty, is not the responsibility of my department. It comes under the remit of my colleague Eamon Ryan, the Minister for Environment, Climate and Communications. Research indicates that fuel poverty in the long term is best tackled by improving the energy efficiency of housing, which of course is under the aegis of Minister Darragh O'Brien. Fuel allowance is a contribution towards the cost of heating a household. It is intended to provide income support for low-income households, not to address the entirety of issues leading to fuel poverty. A review of the implementation on the strategy to combat energy poverty will be completed in 2021 by the Department of the Environment, Climate and Communications. Alleviating energy poverty will also be a key consideration for the National Retrofit Plan and will be published by that department next year, and there's ongoing work in that area. Just on the report on the operation of the EWIS, the legislation establishing the EWIS was brought through the Houses of the Oireachtas by my colleague Paschal Donoghue, Minister for Finance. Therefore, it would be inappropriate for me to accept this amendment, and deputies will be aware that Revenue operate this scheme and therefore have access to the information that the deputies seek. Regarding the report on reducing the pension age, the Government has just established, as you know, the Pensions Commission, whose terms of reference encompass consideration of issues such as PRSI contribution rates, state pension age, contribution requirements, all of which are mentioned in the proposed amendment. The Commission will also be considering international comparators as part of its work, and the Commission is due to complete its work and report by June 2021. And I think it would be, it would be preemptive and futile to accept this amendment, as the work on this is already underway. And then, in relation to the report on job seekers aged between 18 to 24, I know there's an amendment there, and there's a further amendment then, number 7, from Deputy Claire Curran, and it's on the same issue. So if I could just address both of them at the same time. It's not within my remit as Minister for Social Protection to report on the mental health of social welfare recipients. However, I can confirm that my department is currently finalising a poverty impact assessment of age-related rates of job seekers or young people aged 18 to 24 years, and I expect that this report will be available for me to consider within the coming weeks. And I'd like to state that job seekers under 25 years of age who have qualified children, those who were in care of the HSE immediately before they turned 18, or those who are in receipt of housing supports in their own right and living independent of the family home, for example on rent allowance or on HAP, are not subject to the reduced rates of job seekers allowance. This ensures that the most vulnerable young people are provided with the higher rates of payment. So deputies will be aware that the government has committed to improve job seeker supports for people aged under 24 over the lifetime of this government, and I feel that the best way to support young people is to prepare and support them into employment. These include young people on PUP. As the public health crisis subsides, we will engage with them through offering access and support to return to employment. So I've just outlined the different reports that have been requested.
Thank you, Minister. Now, Deputy Smith, are you pressing amendment number 6?
Can I just say that on each of the answers, bar the one on the wage subsidy scheme, I think all the Minister has done is really pass the parcel for what I believe is her responsibility. The question of fuel poverty is not looking for the impact of increased carbon taxes or the qualifying conditions. It's rather to assess what exists in the population in terms of fuel poverty, and nobody seems to want to touch this. As I said earlier on, it was the job of the Climate Action Committee to recommend that it happens. It never happened, and I doubt if the Minister for Energy and Climate Action will touch it either. So I think it's shameful that you're not willing to do it. You have a point on the wage subsidy scheme, and certainly if Paschal Donoghue's office are willing to cover that. Could you just repeat me on the impact of the austerity measure on young people? I don't accept what you say. I don't think that an austerity measure should be reduced over time. It should be removed, and they should be given back their right to full unemployment benefit. Could you just repeat to me what you were saying on the implications for the Social Welfare Insurance Fund on employers' contribution, please? I'm, with respect, just ask you to give that to me again.
Minister, can you clarify that? I mean, we understand that the Minister cannot take an amendment where the statutory responsibility rests with another department, but maybe the points that Deputy Smith has latterly made there you could clarify.
Yeah, I'm just not just clear on. I think maybe what I want to say was, there's a lot of young people have obviously been impacted by the pandemic unemployment payment, and we will have a very intensive programme now to help them to get back to work, whether it's upskilling, reskilling, job placement programmes, whatever. We want to try and get them back as quickly as we can. The point I made then about people between 18 and 24 years, job seekers under 25 years of age who have qualified children, those who are in the care of the HSE immediately before they turned 18, or those who are in receipt of housing supports in their own right and living independent of the family home, for example on rent allowance or HAP, are not subject to the reduced rate of job seekers allowance. And I'm not sure if that's what the Deputy wanted me to clarify, but bring some clarity to it maybe.
Deputy Smith?
Actually, I was looking for the clarity on number 3 there. Could you just repeat to me what you said about that? I mean, I just don't accept that. I think you're excluding a whole cohort of young people who don't fall into the categories you listed, and they're the ones I'm concerned about. Obviously, if they are living away from the home, this doesn't impact on them, but those living at home are impacted by it, so I don't accept it. I mean, you're rejecting my amendment, but I just would like a bit more clarity on point number 3 there, please.
Sorry, Deputy. I see now where you're coming from. On the third one, you see, as I said, we have set up the Commission on Pensions, and we have asked them to look at all of these things. So I think they're doing their work, and I don't think there'll be any point in us starting to prepare a report. We will provide the Commission with all of the supports that they need in terms of deliberating and looking at all of these issues. So I think that would be a better exercise, so that we can provide them with all the information that they need to make a recommendation by June of next year.
Thank you, Minister. Deputy Smith, are you pressing the amendment? No, Deputy Smith is